So I'll probably just breeze through some of this and try to hit some of the more highlights on the presentation. My name's Mitch Stevens. I'm with PMG Software, and my topic today is modernizing the STIP, or STIP management at Alaska DOT. So just a little bit about Alaska DOT, without reading through everything here. This is going to be one of the slides that I'll skip through. You know, those guys do what most DOTs do, managing roads and bridges, and they are public facilities as well. So you can see on here they do have quite a few, about 800 public facilities they're in charge of also. So that is a little bit different than a lot of the DOTs that we deal with. What is a STIP? Does everybody know? Is everybody good there? Good. I'm going to skip that and just talk a little bit about the project. You can see here that it's pretty typical, a fairly typical implementation. Alaska was using a combination of spreadsheets and a legacy system called MRS to manage their STIP and to kind of facilitate the integration with the federal FEMA system. So that old legacy MRS system was built on Oracle forms, and it was one of those things where it was built and maintained in-house, and they like a lot of things, they need something new, they just throw it in there. So there was this huge, massive amount of stuff that was contained in MRS, and it really had gotten to the point where it was difficult for them to manage their STIP. So they let an RFP, or put an RFP out, and PMG was selected to go in and go through our process with them to implement a product, our STIP Manager product, to kind of hopefully improve that process. Talking a little bit about what they've got now. So I think these first few slides I'm going to show you all are things that are currently implemented. Based on that schedule, we actually went live earlier this year. So back, I think they started using it January, February time frame, and we've been working on some of the other stuff along the way. So the first tab to look at here is just this is the opening interface to the system. Every piece of software we have has some kind of map integration in it, so that's what they get here as well. And you can see there's a few things that the user can do here. The items down the left-hand side are all provided via a feature service that their GIS department maintains. And then we just read that feature service in and give them the ability to turn different attributes on and off based on what they want to see. One of the things the user can do is change this base map display, or use that icon to kind of customize what they want to see. And it may be that I'm a planning manager and I only have to worry about a regional manager, and I only have to worry about things that are in my region. If I want to do that, I can simply select that through that drop down, check the little checkbox on the bottom that says Save for Initial Display, then every time you come back in the application, that's what you'll see, just those projects that are relevant to you. I think in this instance, what I did was I think this was an MPO, or house boundaries. So I set mine up for house boundaries, and you can see, again, maybe you've got a phone call, I want to know what projects we're looking at in my house district. Very easily, a user can go in, turn that map display on, and then they get the projects lit up back on the map. You can do points, segments, and polygons. All those are displayed. They also control how those are displayed, so the colors and transparency and things like that are set internally by the agency through some configuration stuff. So it just gives you kind of a quick view of what that project is that I've selected, and then they can run a project detail report if they want a little bit more information about that. Kind of getting down into the day-to-day aspect of the STIP. This is the Manage menu, and this is, again, where most of the functionality of this product is used by Alaska DOT and PF. So it's all permission-based. Everybody can see everything, but not everybody can edit everything. So any user in the department that has the link can come in and look at STIP information. And then they assign different permissions that allow different users to perform their day-to-day duties. The first item under Manage I'm going to talk about is the Needs menu. And the needs, they use this Needs interface basically to track all of their projects. So anything that someone has identified that may turn into a project is captured here. Some of these get moved into the STIP, some of them get remain out here for years and never get done, and some get retired if they know it's never going to get done. So just a quick way for them to get in and take a look at the different projects that have been identified before adding them to the STIP. It's one of two places you can actually create what becomes a project. One is from a need, the other you have that ability in STIP Manager proper as well. I'm going to kind of go out of order and talk about budgets for a little bit, mainly because you can't have projects if you don't have money to spend on them. So I'll talk about budgets next. We'll come back to projects in just a minute. So in the budgets category, you can see there's a couple of different options up on the upper right there, and this is fiscal constraint. This is where they come in as they program projects and move money around. They may take funding out of one category and add it to another, or use these different funding codes to track their federal money. It's all captured here under these different funding categories that you can see. In this Alaska implementation, they broke it down into federal, other federal, and I can't honestly remember what that means, but it just gives them these buckets of money that they can go and figure out how much they've looked or how much they've spent, what's been encumbered, what came forward from the last year, and what remains. This is really where they're able to prove their fiscal constraint by each of these funding categories. So that's important with the feds when they deal with them. Their program targets are where they come in, and you can see the green headers here are basically how they track these different programs and the spending within each one. So they can come in and see what's been programmed under their state of good repair, modernization, expansion, and then I think that's recurring. Sorry, I can't see it very good. So you can have multiple programs under each of those categories, but it gives them the ability to report back out by that overall look at state of good repair to the public and their partners as well as to how they're breaking that money down. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to speed through a lot of this here before we run out of time. This is also where they'll come in and modify or add new programs. So as they get new money from the feds, a new Transportation Act is passed or whatnot that identifies this funding, they'll come in and add that information here. They always have to put a start year, and if there's a end year on that program by law, they have the ability to put that in here as well, so that they won't try to program funds after that fund has expired. Coming back to projects, when you open that interface, it looks very, very similar to the needs. There's a few differences, but it looks very similar, which was intentional, trying to make the needs and the projects look the same. So if you look across the title bar there, you'll see the 4 years in green. That is their actual STIP window. So their active STIP window is shown in those 4 years in green. And then the out years where they may be planning for work outside of that current STIP window is captured further out. The different colors that you see on here represent that some type of action is taking place on that project. And I could not, if my life depended on it, tell you which color means what at the moment, but it just does alert a user to know that someone has requested something that's caused a STIP action. So the STIP administrator can see this pretty quickly and know that there's something they're going to need to go review in order to move that through their workflow. Sorry. This is the project detail tab. Again, if I've clicked on one of those hyperlinks from the screen just before this comes up next, and you can see the type of information that they're capturing here for each of their projects. The budget is down on the bottom. They can always add new programs and new funding to their product simply by adding new or by selecting one of these and modifying it. And again, based on what change they're making, it may kick off an action in the STIP that causes some type of approval to be needed. I'm going to talk a little bit about the location information because this is a bit unique to some of what we've seen in other STIPs. So to get federal funding these days, you have to tie your projects to your HPMS, your last approved HPMS network. That's part of that HPMS submittal that everybody goes through every year. So we've actually given them or built in the ability here for them to go in, look at the current information that's on there, see a lot of the attributes out of their GIS or their roads and highways network, just to kind of see what all they're affecting on these different projects. And then most importantly, the ability to either map this project, like you can see here, or to add some additional location information. So there's two types of location you can add: a GIS, which again is going to be a point of some type, a polygon or some kind of boundary, or non-GIS. Non-GIS might be a statewide program where they've got things across multiple areas that they don't really track on a location basis. So if I'm adding a new location to that STIP project, you can see here I've selected route segment as the type of location I want. And then I can zoom into the map and select the route, the one that's highlighted there. It automatically populates the route ID, and then I've got a couple of options. I can either use the B and the E on the interface there to just capture the beginning and ending mile points of that whole route, or I can click along the route if it's a shorter project than, you know, that's happening there, and as I click, it will populate the from and the to areas as well. I'm going to skip a lot of the project location stuff here. Again, I apologize, we're just very limited on time. We are setting this up. This is currently ongoing. It'll be delivered at the end of the year so that their events are registered against their RNH database, so that as route realignments take place in the GIS, they'll automatically be updated in the STIP Manager database. We store all the location in the STIP database. However, they'll be synchronized so that those route updates are reflected in what they see on their map. They have the ability to attach documents here as well. So if they've got approvals or maybe project information that they want everyone to have access to, they can come in and load that into the document section. And just a history that gives them basically a running edit of everything that's happened along the life of a project that's included in STIP. The Actions tab is where the STIP administrators come in and actually handle all these different changes. So there's I think 3 type of changes they use in Alaska: administrative adjustments, modifications, and technical corrections. Some of those don't require approval, some do. So what will happen as users go in and make updates to their funding or something else that requires approval, like a description or a location change on a project, those get automatically placed here on the staging tab. One of the things we do in each implementation is every state's a little bit different in how they manage their STIP. And a lot of that will depend on how they interact with their division office, their FHWA division office in that state. So they all have kind of like this memorandum of understanding that kind of sets the guidelines as to what fits into each of those categories. Is it just a technical correction? You know, is there a typo or something like that? Or have they extended the boundaries and now that does require the feds to approve it because of that type of change? So when users make those changes, we have a rules table kind of behind the scenes that will trigger these things to show up in this staging tab. And then they have a workflow that as they move things forward, you know, they get to a point where they need approvals from FTA or FHWA, and those are automatically generated and emails put together that contain the required information, the required reports that's sent off to their federal partners where they can approve it. Or they'll review everything. They have access back into this system as well. So they can come in and through the use of a secure PIN, they can come in and approve the modification for the DOT, and it just moves further along the process, which is kind of defined highly by the white and those 4 blue tabs up top. One last thing to talk about here quickly is FEMA's integration. As I mentioned earlier, they had a piece of software they were using for that, but we're replacing it with a piece of software that kind of is a add-on module to STIP Manager, so that everything's handled in one place for them moving forward. All of their FEMA's requests for authorizations, all of their obligation information is all handled through this new FEMA's module, or it will be. Just a quick look at some of the information that's included in there. They do all their signatures. Everything's done through this one piece of software. again, just a history tab showing some of the changes. Last item, they do have an external portal. It's not gone live yet, but it is there, and there's a couple final tweaks taking place where this will be used for presenting their STIP to the public. They will eventually build in public comments and that sort of things that are all part of that STIP process into this external portal. So I think I'm probably about done. Again, I apologize. I wish I didn't have to rush through there so much, but that's a quick 15-minute look at what we could spend about 2 hours talking about on the Alaska STIP project and where they stand. And if you have any questions, because again, I know that was about a 1,000,000-foot level, I'll be glad to answer them real quick.
So is this more like an off-the-shelf, or did you guys have to customize it quite a bit just for the DOT?
It is an off-the-shelf product that we customize individually for each DOT. So it's kind of we maintain a core software code base for STIP Manager, and then every flavor of that is a bit different depending on which DOT. I think this was the 5th one. This was the 4th one, and we're fixing to start the 6th one. So each one of those kind of has its own different flavor of implementation.
So, and another question.
Sure.
And you may have answered this, but in fact, I think you did. When you said the LRS, it's connected to the LRS,
Right.
So it updates it. Does it update what you actually put in there? Like, so if you said beginning and end, does it update that as well, or do you have to go back in and then there's something that flags it?
No, what will happen, again, that synchronization piece it won't be totally live until the end of the year. But once that route update comes in, it will adjust the measures and all on that project within the STIP database to align properly. Yeah. Other questions? Yes, sir.
You showed all the possible projects there. Do you help with prioritization of those and going into the STIP, or they do that prioritization some otherwise and then you get in their management?
Yeah, we don't currently do any project prioritization as part of this. It's definitely something that's been looked at. We just have not done that yet. You know, most everybody has a tool they're currently using, and they've kind of stuck with that. We do have one account where that may be coming soon because they're trying to, again, get all of that into one platform. Okay, again, apologies. That may be the worst presentation I've ever done in my life. So I apologize for that, but I appreciate you coming and listening this morning. And if you have any questions, please just let me know. I'll be around for the next couple of days wandering through everything. So thank you. Sure, yeah.
We have a gift for you.
Oh, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
We're just talking about you. You should stop by our table.
Yeah, I didn't. I just realized you were here. I saw you up on the board. Yeah,
Oh,
the
yeah,
sponsor.
yeah, the
Yeah.
sponsor. Yeah, 'cause I was talking to Nicole. Nicole was all. Because I'm like, have you seen PFG? You know, I've been looking into it, so you should
Yeah.
stop by.
Yeah, I'll do that.